Hey, Mickey, just as far as this search, I mean, you were kind of behind, I guess, in comparison to the other 8 jobs. How much of a factor has that been at all?
Yeah, I don't see it as a significant factor. Obviously, a couple teams are further down the process, and a couple guys have been hired already, but not overly concerned with that. I think our circumstances are different. Those 8 teams where they let go a head coach, and I think their situation is different than ours. When you have a coach retire and you have a lot of really good things in place already.
From a philosophical standpoint, sometimes a lot of these other organizations, and you all after Katrina were at a low point when you were hiring a coach. You all are at a much different level. How much does that weigh into, I guess, your process when you talked about it being a different process? Some of these other teams are at a much different point than maybe where you look like you are culturally and structurally.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of things relative to that question. The first is, you go back 16 years and we were dealing with, Katrina and an evacuation and a city that was, devastated and a lot of questions about viability and long-term viability. There were just so many other unique things about that 16 years ago that made that opening at that time so unique and such a challenge. What's different? Obviously, it's different now. We're not coming off of anything like that. We're coming off of a long run of success. We're coming, with a different process that exists even within the league rules. So, it's just completely different, really, in a lot of ways. Other than, hey, we're looking for a head coach.
Who will be involved in the search process? Is it just you, or is it going to be a collaborative effort?
No, I'm gonna have a number of our guys involved. Mrs. B will have she'll sit in on that. Dennis Lauscha at times, and then some of our football operations guys.
Mickey, regardless of who the coach is here next year, do you think that you have a roster that is good enough to win many games next year?
Well, look, I would say this, Ed. We like our roster. We've got some good things, but we've got some questions too, and we're going through that process of evaluation. We're going to have a list of things that we need to get accomplished in the off season in order to get us into position to be successful. And but there are a lot of things that we like. Obviously, we had some good things happen this year. We had a lot of injuries, a lot of circumstances that were difficult, that I thought our coaches and players did an amazing job of overcoming. But the answer to your question really remains to be seen. We've got an entire offseason we have to deal with first.
Do you have any kind of time frame for when you want to maybe see or have a head coach named?
No, I wouldn't say that I have some drop dead date. Obviously, you want to, move the process around as quickly as possible. And yet it's more important to get it right than it is to be quick. We're going to be diligent about that.
Hey, Mickey, the first thing you said was that you feel like you have good things in place. How important is it for whomever the next guy is to understand that? And would it be correct to assume that you don't think this is a blow up and start over kind of job?
Yeah, I think that is correct to assume. We don't see it as a wholesale culture change, roster change, anything like that. Look, we've got a lot of good things here, and doesn't mean that it can't be improved and built upon. But it's as Sean said in his press conference, he's leaving with the franchise in a much better place than when he got here.
Can you just explain the general approach? From the outside, people obviously look at this team and think, oh, they have great candidates that could just promote from within. How do you approach that versus wanting to be like, maybe there are outside ideas that we want to hear about?
Well, you just gave the answer. We do have great candidates from within the building, and yet we also recognize that there's great candidates outside the building, and we want to go through the full process. That's the fair thing to do. It's the right thing to do for the New Orleans Saints.
Do you have a number in your head? I know there have been reports out there about 3, I guess, other coaches interviewing. Do you get to a point and say, that's enough? Or do you say, I want more? How do you kind of look at
I don't look at it that way. I think we're just gonna we're gonna go through the process. We're we've got a lot of names, so kind of depends on how you define candidates. Because everyone out there, I mean, I shouldn't say everyone. There's a lot of candidates now. Who we ultimately interview, that number gets pared down to the guys that we think will fit what we're A, looking for, and B, the circumstances that we have. So I don't have a set number. It might be a lower number, it might be a higher number. We haven't settled on that yet. And some of that gets dictated by where guys are in the process with other teams.
Dennis Allen's scheduled interview. I mean, why are you all interested in talking to DA?
Well, look, he's qualified. He has experience. He understands our culture here. There's just, we just know a lot about him. He's an excellent candidate, and there are some others as well.
You alluded to how much better the organization is, a better place than it was 16 years ago. Have you seen that in the outreach? I mean, are you seeing more candidates or agents contacted? What's that been like the last few days when the job came open?
Well, it's definitely the case. There wasn't anybody ringing my phone 16 years ago. I was having to ring theirs, and it wasn't always positive when I did get a hold of someone 16 years ago. We've had a lot of outreach, a lot of people interested in coming to New Orleans, and it's completely different in terms of, I think, how we're perceived.